Close your eyes for a moment and imagine something truly spectacular. Imagine that you live inside a giant, golden palace. This palace is so enormous that you could walk for hours and never see the same room twice. Every single hallway is lined with beautiful art, and the floors are so shiny you can see your own reflection in them. The gardens outside are filled with flowers that bloom in every color you can think of, and the trees are perfectly trimmed. It is a place of magic, wonder, and quiet beauty. In this world, you are the most important person there is. Now imagine what your daily life would be like in a place like that. Every time you feel even a little bit thirsty and want a warm cup of delicious tea, you do not have to walk to the kitchen. You do not even have to stand up from your comfortable chair. Instead, a polite servant in a clean, crisp uniform appears as if by magic. They bow deeply to show you respect and carefully pour the steaming tea into a delicate china cup. You are treated like a treasure, and you never have to lift a single finger to help yourself. It feels like being the main character in the best storybook ever written. In this dream life, you never have to worry about the messy parts of being a person. You never have to wash a dirty dish or scrub a greasy pan after a big dinner. You never have to pick up your clothes from the floor or spend your Saturday cleaning your bedroom. Why? Because there is always a team of people there to tidy up everything for you. Your bed is made with perfectly straight sheets every morning, and your room is always sparkling clean. You never have to think about chores or any of the hard work that regular people have to do every day. The luxury does not stop there. You never have to worry about driving a car, finding your keys, or looking for a place to park in a crowded city. Whenever you want to go somewhere, whether it is to a party or just a trip to the city, a professional driver is waiting for you. They stand by a shiny black car and open the door just for you. You simply sit back in the soft, leather seat and look out the window while someone else handles the traffic, the directions, and the roads. You arrive everywhere feeling relaxed and important. In this palace life, you get to wear the most incredible clothes. Imagine outfits made of the softest, most expensive silk in the world. The fabric feels like a cloud against your skin. You have closets filled with beautiful dresses and suits, and you own sparkling jewels that catch the light and shimmer whenever you move. To anyone looking at you from the outside, your life seems absolutely perfect. It sounds like a dream come true, right? But there is a very big secret hidden behind those high palace walls that most people never see. Now imagine that in exchange for all those fancy things and the beautiful clothes, you have to follow very strict and difficult rules. You are told exactly who you are allowed to talk to and who you must stay away from. You are told exactly where you can go and which places are forbidden for you to visit. You are never allowed to just be a normal person. You can't just go for a walk by yourself, hang out at a mall with friends, or do anything spontaneous. Your life is planned out for you by other people, and you have to follow that plan every single minute. You are always being watched by guards, servants, and the public. You have to act a certain way, speak a certain way, and even smile a certain way. You are like a beautiful bird living in a very expensive golden cage. You have everything you could ever want to buy, but you do not have the freedom to just be yourself. It is a very heavy weight to carry, even if the clothes you are wearing are made of silk and the crown on your head is made of gold. Then one day something happens that changes your entire world. You meet someone new. This person is not a prince from a far-off land, and he is not a powerful king with chests full of gold. He's just a regular man with a regular job. He doesn't live in a palace, and he doesn't have servants to do things for him. He's just a normal guy who works hard every day to earn his living. He lives in a normal house and drives a normal car. Even though he isn't a royal, there is something special about him. He makes you laugh until your stomach hurts. When you are with him, you feel like you can finally take off your royal mask and just be a human being. You don't have to act like a princess or follow any of those old, strict rules. He listens to your thoughts and cares about what you really think. For the first time in your entire life, you feel like a real person instead of just a symbol of a kingdom. But there is a very big catch to this relationship. The rules of the palace are very clear and very old. If you choose to stay with this man and be his wife, you have to leave the palace forever. You cannot keep your fancy life and your new love at the same time. You have to make a choice between the two worlds, and you can only pick one. It is a choice that will change the rest of your life, and there is no way to change your mind once you decide to walk through those gates. If you choose love, you have to give up all your money, all your beautiful jewels, and your special royal title. You will no longer be called a princess. You will have to learn how to do things you have never done before. You will have to learn how to cook your own meals, how to sweep your own floors, and how to shop for groceries at a regular store just like everyone else. You will have to live a normal life in a normal house with no servants to help you. Think about it very carefully. Would you actually do it? Would you be willing to trade a whole kingdom and a life of luxury just for a chance at true love? It sounds like a movie, doesn't it? But this is exactly what happened to a real-life princess in Japan named Princess Sayako, who many people called Princess Nori. Her life story is one of the most amazing and brave love stories in the entire world. It is a story about a woman who decided that her heart was worth more than a crown. Today, we are going to look closely at her incredible journey. We will find out why she decided to walk away from a life of servants and palaces, and what her life looks like now that she is a regular citizen. It is a story about following your heart, even when it means leaving behind everything you have ever known. It is a story that shows us that the most important things in life aren't things you can buy with money. Japan is a very special country with a long and interesting history. It has many old traditions that have lasted for thousands of years. The people there care deeply about their past and their culture. One of the most important parts of Japan is something called the Imperial House. This is the special name for the Japanese royal family. They are very respected by the people of Japan, and they represent the heart of the nation. Many people believe that the Japanese royal family is the oldest one in the whole world, where the crown stays in the very same family for century after century. They have been the leaders of Japan for a very long time. In fact, some history books say that this royal family might have started all the way back in the year 97 BC. If you do the math, that was a very, very long time ago. It is hard to even imagine how many generations of the same family have lived in those palaces. For hundreds and hundreds of years, the people of Japan thought the emperors were much more than just regular men. They believed that the emperors were actually related to a powerful goddess named Amaterasu, who was the goddess of the sun. Because of this belief, the royal family was treated like they were holy and magical. People didn't even look at them the way they looked at other people. They were seen as something almost beyond human. However, things began to change after a very big and sad war called World War II. The emperor at that time was named Emperor Hirohito. After the war was over, he told the whole world something very important. He said that he was a regular human being and not a god. This was a huge moment in history because it changed how everyone looked at the royal family. It brought them closer to the people. Since that day, the royal family has had a very different kind of job. They do not run the government, they do not make the laws, and they do not tell the people what to do. Instead, their job is to represent the long history and the beautiful culture of Japan. They are symbols of the country's spirit. They spend their time keeping old traditions alive so that the next generation of Japanese people can remember where they came from. The royal family stays very busy with their duties. They go to special ceremonies, they visit schools and hospitals, and they meet with important leaders from other countries all around the world. The current leader of the family is Emperor Naruhito. He became the emperor in 2019 after his father, Emperor Akihito, decided it was time for him to step down and rest. This was a very famous event because it was so modern. His father, Emperor Akihito, was getting older and felt that he could not do the heavy work of being an emperor as well as he used to. He wanted the country to have a leader with more energy and strength. This was a very big deal because, for hundreds of years, emperors usually stayed in power until the day they passed away. Choosing to retire was a very thoughtful and kind thing for him to do for his country. The Japanese royal family has many strict and ancient rules that everyone must follow. These rules are like a giant book of instructions that decide who the princes and princesses are allowed to talk to, how they should act in public, and even who they are allowed to marry. These rules have been around for a long time to make sure the royal family stays traditional and respected. But over time, some of those rules have started to change. Over the last 50 years, some members of the royal family started to break these old traditions so they could follow their hearts. The very first person to really change things was Princess Sayako's own father, Akihito. When he was a young prince, everyone expected him to marry a woman from another royal family. That was just the way things were always done for hundreds of years. No one even thought about doing it any other way. But one day, while he was playing a friendly game of tennis, he met a young woman named Michiko. She was very nice, very smart, and very beautiful. But there was one big problem according to the palace rules. She was a commoner. This means that her family was not royal or noble. She was just a regular person whose family worked hard in business. She did not have a fancy title or a palace of her own. Prince Akihito did not care about titles or whether she was a royal. He fell deeply in love with Michiko because of the person she was on the inside. However, many of the people who worked in the palace were very angry about this. They thought it was completely wrong for a future emperor to marry someone who wasn't a royal. They wanted him to follow the old rules and marry someone the palace chose for him. The person who was the angriest of all was the prince's own mother, Empress Kajun. She was very strict and could be very mean to Michiko. She told her that she wasn't good enough for the royal family because she was a commoner. It was a very difficult time for Michiko. She felt very sad and lonely because her new family was treating her so poorly just because she didn't have a royal title. It was so hard for Michiko that she even felt sick sometimes because of all the stress and the mean things people said. At one point, the people in the palace even tried to send her away to another country. They hoped that if she were far away, the prince would forget about her and find someone else to marry. but Prince Akihito was strong. He refused to give up on the woman he loved, no matter what people said. A wise king from the country of Belgium even spoke to the Japanese leaders during this time. He told them that if the prince was happy with Michiko, he would be a much better leader for his people because a happy leader is a kind leader. Finally, after a lot of arguing, the palace said yes. In 1959, they got married in a giant celebration. It was like a real-life fairy tale that the whole world watched on their televisions. Akihito and Michiko had a very happy marriage and 3 children. They had 2 boys named Naruhito and Fumihito, and they had 1 daughter named Sayako. Many people called her Princess Nori. Princess Sayako was born on April 18, 1969. She was the youngest child in the family and the only girl, which made her very special to her parents and her older brothers. They all cared for her very much. Because she was a princess, Sayako went to a very special school called Gakushuin. This school was built a long time ago just for children from rich and royal families. Even when she was just a little girl, Sayako knew that her life was different from other kids she saw on TV. She knew that there were big rules she had to follow, and she understood that her future was already planned out by the palace. Sayako grew up knowing a very important law that affected her future. She knew that if she ever chose to marry a regular man who wasn't a prince, she would have to leave the royal family forever. This was the law for all princesses in Japan. They had to make a choice. They could either stay royal and never get married to a commoner, or marry for love and become a regular person. It was a rule she lived with every day. Growing up in the palace was filled with luxury. She lived in a beautiful, large home called the Tagu Palace. There were dozens of servants everywhere you looked, ready to help with anything. If she was thirsty, someone brought her a drink. If she needed to go somewhere, a professional driver in a big black car was always waiting. She never had to worry about money, chores, or how things got done. But even with all that luxury and all those servants, Sayako was a very sweet and simple child. She didn't act spoiled or treat people poorly. Her mother, Empress Michiko, wanted to make sure Sayako grew up knowing what the real world was like. Starting when Sayako was in elementary school, the 2 of them would go on small trips together without any big groups of guards or servants, so they could just be mother and daughter. Sayako also had a great love for traditional Japanese culture. She learned a very difficult and beautiful kind of dance called Nihonbuyo. She practiced very hard and eventually performed her dance on a big stage at the National Theater. She was always very calm and happy, even when things were difficult or stressful. Because of her peaceful personality, her father gave her a funny and sweet nickname. He called her Miss Don't Mind. He gave her this name because she never let problems or small mistakes bother her. She was always patient and kind to everyone she met. Even though she lived in a giant palace with all the money in the world, Sayako wanted to learn about the real world and do something meaningful with her life. She was a very curious person who loved to study. When it was time for college, she went to Gakushuin University, where she studied the Japanese language and its literature. After she graduated in 1992, she did something that no Japanese princess had ever done before in all of history. She decided to get a real job. She didn't want to just sit in the palace and go to parties. She wanted to work and learn new things just like a regular person does. She started working at the Yamashina Institute for Ornithology. That is a big word that just means the study of birds. Sayako loved birds very much, especially a beautiful and colorful bird called the kingfisher. She worked there 2 days every single week. For the first time, she was doing something for herself and learning about the science of nature. She was very dedicated to her work. Sayako actually earned a paycheck for her work, which was a huge deal. She was the very first princess in all of Japanese history to earn her own salary from a real job. She even helped write scientific reports about the different kinds of birds that lived in the gardens around the palace. She was proving to everyone that she was more than just a princess. She was a smart and hardworking scientist. Besides her work with birds, she was also a very busy member of the royal family. She traveled to 14 different countries to represent Japan and meet new people. She went to places as far away as Brazil and Europe. She also spent a lot of her time helping people who could not see. She worked with special groups that train guide dogs to help blind people walk safely through the world. Sayako watched how much her parents loved each other every day. Even when their lives were difficult or when people were mean to them, they stayed together and supported one another. Because of them, Sayako decided that she would only get married if she truly loved someone with all her heart. She didn't want an arranged marriage where the palace picked a husband for her just because he had a title. She wanted her heart to lead the way, no matter where it took her. The man who eventually changed her life forever was named Sayako Kuroda. He was not a prince or a member of any royal family. He was just a regular man who lived a normal life. He worked for the city government in Tokyo as an urban designer. That means he helped plan how buildings, roads, and parks are built in the city. Sayako actually knew Yashiki a little bit when they were younger. This was because he was a very good friend of her brother, Prince Fumihito. They had gone to the same school since they were very little kids, but they hadn't seen each other in a long time until one day in 2003. Sayako was 34 years old when they met again at a party her brother was having at his home. Yashiki was a tall man who often looked very serious, but he had a very warm and kind smile that made people feel comfortable right away. When he and Sayako started talking, they realized they had a lot in common. They both liked simple things and cared about helping other people. They enjoyed talking to each other and found that they had the same kind of kind heart. Because Sayako was a princess, she couldn't just go out on normal dates like other couples. She couldn't go to a movie theater or a public park without photographers following her everywhere. It was hard to get to know someone with the whole world watching, so her brother let them use his house as a secret place to meet. They could talk and laugh there without anyone bothering them or taking pictures. Over time, their friendship slowly turned into a deep love. They realized they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. In December 2004, they finally told the world that they were engaged to be married. During a big press conference with many reporters, Sayako looked very happy. She said that whenever she saw Yashiki's smile, it stayed in her heart and made her feel warm and safe. Yashiki told the reporters the story of how he asked her to marry him. He said he asked her while they were sitting together having a simple cup of tea. Sayako knew that by saying yes, her entire life was going to change in an instant. She told the reporters she felt a little nervous about living like a normal person, but she wasn't surprised because she had known the rules since she was a little girl. Yashiki was not a rich man. He didn't have a lot of money or a big, fancy house. He lived in a regular apartment with his mother and worked in a normal office every day. When the people in the palace realized that Sayako was serious about marrying him, they gave her a very difficult choice. They gave her an ultimatum, which is a final choice you have to make between two things. The choice was simple but very hard. She could stay a princess and never marry the man she loved, or she could marry Yashiki and lose everything she had known. She would have to give up her title, her home, and her royal status. Without hesitating, Sayako chose Yashiki. She decided that having love and a happy life was much more important than having servants, jewels, or a royal title. In 2005, they finally got married at a hotel in Tokyo. Usually, royal weddings in Japan are very long, very expensive, and very complicated. Royal women usually have to wear a special dress that has 12 layers of heavy silk. It is so heavy that it weighs as much as a small child. But Sayako didn't want any of that. She wanted her wedding to be simple, honest, and focused on love. She chose to wear a simple, elegant white silk dress that looked very pretty on her. She wore a small pearl necklace and looked very happy and beautiful. The wedding was much smaller than most royal weddings, with only about 150 guests invited.